Maybe you sat down to pray this morning, and before you could even form a single word, the tears came. Maybe you didn't plan to cry. You weren't trying to fall apart. You sat down in the quiet, maybe with your coffee still warm, maybe still in your pajamas, maybe before the house woke up or after everyone had already left, and you simply closed your eyes and opened your mouth to speak, and the tears came instead of words. And you didn't call them. They just came. Maybe you've had a week like that, the kind of week where you kept everything functioning on the surface. You showed up to work, you answered the messages, you took care of what needed to be taken care of, but underneath all of it, something has been quietly gathering. Something has been slowly filling up, and the moment you got still enough for it to move, it moved. Maybe you've been wondering if something is wrong with you. Why can't I hold it together? Why does this keep happening every time I sit down to pray? Why do I feel more undone at the end of my prayers than I did at the beginning? You can get through the whole day without breaking. You can hold it together in traffic and in meetings and in conversations and at the dinner table. But the second you get alone with God, the second it's just you and the silence and whatever it is that lives beneath the noise, something cracks. Maybe it's happened enough times now that you've started to feel a quiet shame about it. Like you should be further along by now. Like a person with real faith wouldn't keep arriving at prayer like this, wet-eyed, undone, not sure what they're even trying to say. Maybe part of you has wondered if God is getting tired of it, if heaven is growing weary of the same grief showing up again. If that's where you are today, this prayer is for you. I want to say something to you before we even begin to pray. Something I need you to receive before we bring anything to God this morning. And I say this not as someone who has it figured out, but as someone who has sat in exactly the place you are sitting right now. Someone who has had to learn this the slow way. Your tears in the presence of God are not a problem. They are not a sign of weak faith. They are not evidence that your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling, or that God is not listening, or that you are somehow doing this wrong. Your tears are not the breakdown of prayer. In many ways, they are prayer at its most real. They are what happens when we stop managing our own presentation long enough to simply be honest. And honesty before God is never something to be ashamed of. In fact, there is a passage in the Psalms that I want to give you this morning, because I think it changes everything about how we understand this. The writer says to God, and I want you to hear this slowly, he says, "You have kept count of my tossings. You have collected my tears in a bottle. Are they not in your book?" He is saying to God, you have been tracking this. Every restless night, every tear that fell, every grief that moved through me, you did not look away. You did not grow bored or distant or impatient. You collected my tears. You kept record of them. You held them. That is not the posture of a God who is tired of your grief. That is the posture of a God who is leaning in. There is a kind of prayer that goes beyond language. When sorrow sits so heavy that words cannot carry it, when the hurt is too layered, too old, too complicated, too many-chambered to press into a sentence, your body prays for you. That is what tears are. They are the overflow of a heart that has more to say to God than language allows. They are not the failure of prayer. They are prayer at its deepest. They are what rises from the places in us that words cannot reach. So when you cry during prayer, I want you to know this. You have not failed. You have not fallen behind. You have not revealed some weakness that disqualifies you from being heard. You have simply arrived at God's presence with everything you actually are. And I promise you from the Word of God, He receives that. He receives you exactly like this. You are not falling apart in His presence. You are opening up. And those are not the same thing. Falling apart suggests something has gone wrong, that the structure has failed, that what was supposed to hold could not. But opening up is different. Opening up is an act of trust. It is what someone does when they believe, somewhere, even somewhere small and quiet, that the person they are opening up to is safe enough to hold what's inside. And the fact that you keep coming back to God, even like this, even in this condition, even with the same grief and the same tears and the same questions you brought last week, that is not weakness. That is faith. That is one of the most honest expressions of faith I know. So let's bring this before God together. Heavenly Father, I come before you this morning with an open heart. And Lord, I have to be honest with you. This morning, that open heart is a wet one. It is a trembling one. I come to you with eyes that are not fully dry, with a chest that carries an ache I cannot fully name or clearly explain, with a grief that has been sitting in me quietly below the surface, below all the functioning and the managing and the holding together. And this morning, it has risen to where I can no longer keep it submerged. And I come. Lord, I want you to receive that from me this morning. I want you to notice that even like this, even in this condition, I came. I did not wait until I was better. I did not put it off until I felt more composed or more collected or more worthy of your presence. I came now, like this, because something in me still believes that this is where I belong and here before you, and that arriving undone is still arriving. I come because I believe, I am choosing to believe, even when it takes real effort to believe it, that you are not startled by what you see in me right now, that you are not stepping back from me because I am not composed, that you are not waiting at the door of your presence with a condition that says, get yourself together first, then come in. I believe your door does not work that way. I believe you meet people where they are, and where I am this morning is here. Lord, I believe you are the God who draws close to the broken-hearted. That is not a gentle sentiment. That is a declaration about your character. It is not that you tolerate the broken-hearted from a respectful distance. It is not that you wait patiently on the other side of the healing for people to arrive once the worst is over. You draw close, present tense, active movement, toward the broken, toward the grieving, toward the ones who come to you with nothing to offer but the honest wreck of themselves. I believe you are the God who went looking for Hagar in the wilderness, a woman with no advocates, no community, no future she could see, cast out and certain she had come to the end, sitting in the desert beside her child with no water left and no hope she could locate. And you came to her there, not to a throne room, not after she had found her way back to propriety or composure or an acceptable form of faith. You came to the desert, to the woman in the wilderness, to the impossible place. And you saw her. You called her by name. You asked her what she was feeling, as if what she felt mattered to you, and it did. And you provided what she could not see from where she was sitting. You are that God this morning. You are El Roi, the God who sees. Not just the version of me I would like you to see. Not just the surface, the functioning parts, the pieces of me that have something coherent to offer. You see all of me, the private rooms, the rooms I have not opened to anyone else because I was not sure anyone else could handle what was in there. The grief that has no return address, the kind that sits in you without a clear origin or a clear name, just a weight that is simply present, day after day. The longing I cannot fully articulate even to myself. The loss I have never quite given proper space to mourn. The wound that has been quietly present for so long that it has started to feel like a permanent part of who I am. You see all of it. Every layer, every room, every locked door, and every reason I locked it. And still, lording still while you are here, not in spite of all of it, not waiting for some edited, more presentable version of me. Here, present, with me in all of it, unafraid of what you find when you look inside me. I acknowledge that you are not surprised by my tears. You saw this morning before I woke up. You knew before I sat down what was going to happen when I got still enough for it to surface. I acknowledge that you are not impatient with my unraveling, that my grief is not an interruption to you, that you have not been checking the clock waiting for me to arrive at a more advanced spiritual state where this no longer happens. I acknowledge this morning that your presence is not conditional on my composure, that you are not partially present with me until I pull myself together. You are Emmanuel, God with us, not God nearby in the general sense, not God at a safe and respectful distance, with us, in the specific, particular, present tense, right here sense. And today that means God with me, in this grief, in this mourning, in these tears that I did not fully plan to bring but could not hold back. Lord, I confess I don't always understand what my tears are made of when they come during prayer. Sometimes I sit down before you carrying things I was sure I had already processed, already worked through, already given over to you and walked away from, already grieved properly and released. And then the quiet comes and I begin to pray and something opens up again, like a door I thought I had shut all the way that was only resting against the frame, and something on the other side of it comes through. and I don't always know what it is or why this particular morning it chose to rise again. I confess that not knowing makes it harder. I confess that grief without a name feels more difficult to surrender than grief I can identify and address clearly. It is one thing to bring a specific sorrow to you and say, "Here, I name this, I release this." It is another to bring you something that has no name yet, no clear shape, something that is simply present and heavy and real, and I don't know what to call it. I confess I am sometimes ashamed of that. I confess there is a voice that rises in me during prayer, quiet but familiar and persistent, that says you shouldn't still be feeling this, that this grief has gone on too long, that whatever this is, you should have given it to God properly by now and moved on. That crying again here, over something you have already prayed about and already wept over and already laid before the altar, is a sign that something is broken in you spiritually. I confess that voice has sometimes been louder in my head than yours. I confess there have been mornings when the shame of the tears arrived before the tears themselves, when I sat down to pray already bracing for the grief, already carrying the judgment of it, already pre-apologizing inside my own heart for what I knew was coming. Heavenly Father, forgive me for that. Forgive me for treating the most honest thing I can bring to you as though it were a sign of spiritual failure rather than spiritual honesty. I confess the exhaustion of carrying grief quietly through an entire week, the way I keep it below the surface, managed, contained, invisible to the world around me, and then come to prayer and have it all come rushing out at once. The floodgate opens the moment I get alone with you, not because you have broken something in me, but because you are the only one I trust enough to fall apart in front of. You are the only presence in my life with whom I do not have to perform. The only one before whom I do not have to be okay when I am not okay. The only one who will not need me to reassure them afterward that I'm fine. And I confess that when I sit with that long enough, something in me shifts. Because the truth is, and Lord, you know this better than I do, the tears that come in your presence are not evidence of your absence from my life. They are evidence of trust. They are what happens when someone is in the presence of a person safe enough to be honest with. And the fact that I am still coming to you, still sitting before you, still reaching toward you through the grief and through the confusion and through the long weeks of carrying things in silence, that is not failure. That is faith choosing to remain even when it does not feel like anything is being resolved. I confess the loneliness of carrying grief that other people cannot fully see, the grief that wears a functioning face, the kind of sorrow that has learned to move through the world without drawing attention to itself, without asking for anything, without putting its name on anything publicly, the loss that did not get a ceremony, the heartbreak that has no obvious occasion, no single event to point to, no clear beginning, just an ache that has been present for so long that I've stopped expecting it to leave on its own. I confess the grief of prayers that have gone unanswered for longer than I know how to hold. Not for a day or a week, longer. Long enough that my faith has had to do real work to keep standing in the gap between what I have asked for and what I can see. Long enough that I have sat with the discomfort of silence from heaven and had to decide again and again whether to stay or to drift. And I stayed, Lord. I have kept staying. But I confess the cost of it. I confess that staying through the silence has left marks on me, and I bring those marks to you this morning without hiding them. Even when it is hard to keep hoping, I confess it. Even when it is hard to form words through tears, I confess that. Even when it is hard to believe my prayers are landing anywhere at all, I confess that too. I confess the doubt. I confess the parts of me that have started to wonder in the quiet whether heaven is listening. I bring all of that. I bring the doubt alongside the faith. I bring the weariness alongside the worship. I bring the whole of what I actually am right now, not just the gratitude and the praise I know belongs at the front of a proper prayer, not just the parts of me that are doing well and want to bring something worthy. I bring the confused parts, the grieving parts, the parts that are still asking why and sitting with no clear answer. The prayers that feel like they have been absorbed into silence long enough to leave a permanent mark on the shape of my faith. I bring you the cry of a heart that does not know how to organize its pain into sentences, only into tears. And Lord, even this offering, Even this unorganized, inarticulate, unexplained grief, I lay it open before you, because you are the one who said that those who mourn will be comforted. That is not a vague sentiment. That is a promise. And I am choosing to hold you to it this morning. I am choosing to stand in that promise, even from a place where I cannot yet feel my way to its fulfillment. I choose to believe your word over my present experience. I choose your promises over what my circumstances are telling me right now. Lord, I do not want to leave this prayer the same way I entered it, not because tears are wrong. They are not. I know that now, in a way, I am still learning to fully receive. I know you have never once required me to arrive in your presence without them, if they are what I have. But I want to receive something from you this morning. I want to leave this place carrying something I did not have when I sat down, even if it is quiet, even if it is small, even if I cannot fully measure it or name it until later. I want to go back into my day changed, even slightly, even in a way that is invisible to everyone else, by having been here with you. So I choose, right now, in this moment, with my voice unsteady and my eyes wet, I choose to surrender the shame I carry about my own weeping, the shame that has accumulated over every time I cried in prayer and then quietly judged myself for it afterward. The voice that has told me that grief this persistent must be grief that was never truly surrendered. I lay that shame down this morning. I release it as something that was never mine to carry to begin with. I choose to release the belief that my tears are a sign of distance between me and God. I choose to receive the opposite truth, that my tears in His presence are a sign of nearness, of trust, of something alive in me that still knows where to go when it hurts. I choose to release the expectation that I should be over this by now, that healing runs on a schedule, that there is a spiritually appropriate amount of time to grieve, and I have exceeded it. Not my timeline, yours. Not my expectation of how healing is supposed to move through a person, yours. Not my understanding of what a healed person is supposed to look like from the outside, yours. Lord, I receive this morning. I stretch my hands open right now, and I receive the truth that you are moved by what moves me, that you are not watching my grief from a clinical distance, that you are not a God who says, "Collect yourself, this is not the kind of thing we dwell on." You are the God who, when He came to the tomb of Lazarus, stood in the presence of Mary weeping at His feet, and Martha, whose words held a wound in them, asking where He had been, and He did not immediately fix it. He did not correct their grief. He did not instruct them toward greater faith. He did not remind them of what He had told them earlier, what they should have known, what they could have trusted. He wept. Jesus wept, the Son of God, the one who already knew the end of the story, the one who was minutes away from calling Lazarus out of the grave, the one who had the power to undo every layer of that sorrow with a single word. And He stood in the middle of it, and He wept. He honored the grief before He resolved it. He entered into it rather than bypassing it. He let Himself be moved. That is still who He is. That is who is present at this prayer right now, and I do not believe He is unmoved by what you are carrying. The same God who spoke the universe into being, who holds the weight of all creation in His hands, that God stood at the edge of human grief and entered it, not to observe it, to share it, to sanctify it with His presence. And that is what He is doing at this prayer this morning, and so I declare this over my life out loud, even with an unsteady voice. My tears are not a failure, they are a language, and you are fluent in it. My cracking open in your presence is not a step backward in my faith. It is a step deeper into honesty, a return to the realness that God has always wanted from me, more than performance. A return to the place where pretending is no longer required, and I can simply be. And being fully, honestly, unguardedly present before God is not weakness. It is one of the most honest forms of worship I have ever offered. I choose to believe that every tear I have ever brought to God in prayer has been seen, has been received, has been held. I choose your word over my feelings. I choose faith over fear. I choose to believe that the comfort you promised is not somewhere ahead of me, waiting until I have healed enough or believed enough or composed myself enough to receive it. It is here. It is already moving in me, even as I speak these words. Even now. Even while the ache is still present. Comfort does not require the grief to be finished before it comes. You move into the grief. That is what you do. That is what you are doing right now. Even when it is hard to feel anything but the weight of what I am carrying, I choose to believe you are present. Even when it is hard to call what I am going through anything other than loss, I choose to believe you are working in it. Even when it is hard to see how this story arrives anywhere like wholeness or peace, I choose to believe that it does, that it will, that you are trustworthy with the ending even when I cannot see it from where I am standing right now. I choose your word over my feelings. I choose faith over fear. Lord, I give you my tears today, not as a malfunction to be corrected, not as a problem to be solved, but as an offering, the truest offering I have this morning. The most honest prayer I know how to pray right now. This raw, unpolished, unexplained grief, I bring it without apology. I bring it as something I believe you can receive, because you have always been the God who receives what other hands turn away from. And I trust you with it. I trust that you know what to do with broken things. I have watched you long enough to know that broken is not the end of the story in your hands. That you take what is fractured and make something of it that is stronger and more honest and more real than what was whole before. I trust you with that work in me, even now, especially now. Have your way, Lord. Have your way. I don't need to understand the reason behind every tear this morning. I release the demand I sometimes place on my own pain to explain itself before I give myself permission to feel it. I don't need the grief to make sense before I can receive comfort. I don't need to be fully healed before I can trust that healing is quietly happening in the unseen places of me that I cannot yet see. I release the pressure of having to understand my own sorrow, even to myself. I release the idea that arriving before God undone means I have failed at faith, that the version of me who cries in prayer is the lesser version, the one that needs to be fixed, corrected, gotten past. I release the idea that God is tolerating this version of me until the better one shows up. I am fully received right now, here, like this, as I am. I release the quiet shame that has accumulated in the space between every prayer I have cried through and every time I have quietly judged myself for it afterward. That accumulation has been heavy. It was never mine to carry. I lay it down here, at this altar, in this prayer, and I do not take it back up. And in its place, Lord, fill me, not necessarily with answers this morning, not with an immediate lifting of the weight, though I receive that too if you choose to give it. Fill me with your presence, which is itself the answer, which is itself the thing I have been reaching toward underneath every other thing I thought I was asking for. Not a word from you, not a miracle from you, not a resolution from you, just you, near, unafraid, with me in this. Breathe into the places in me that feel cracked and hollow, the places that have been quietly leaking for longer than I have been willing to acknowledge. Move into the rooms I have kept sealed because the grief inside them was too large to approach alone. You are not afraid of those rooms. You have never been afraid of what is inside me. You are the God who enters sealed rooms, and I am opening the door this morning. Every door. Come in. I believe you are already doing that. I believe something is being tended to in this prayer that I cannot yet fully feel or see. I believe that my tears, collected in your bottle, are not random or wasted. They are held. They are held by hands that formed the cosmos and still find time to tend gently to a single weeping heart on an ordinary morning. Lord, let me carry one settled thing out of this prayer, just one truth into the rest of this day. Let it be this: I am not beyond your reach. I am not too far into the grief for comfort to find me. I am not the only person who has ever wept through an entire prayer and come out the other side not fully understanding what just happened, but knowing, quietly knowing, that something did. I am seen. I am known. I am loved, not despite the tears, through them, not after I compose myself. Right now, exactly like this, exactly as I am, with everything I brought and everything that came with me that I could not leave behind. I receive that today. I receive it by faith even where my feelings have not yet caught up to it. I receive it not because I have earned it or achieved some threshold of spiritual maturity or gotten through the grief properly, but because you are good, because your goodness does not require my composure before it moves toward me, because you meet me here. You have always met me here. I choose to stand on that truth this morning. Not my strength, yours. Not my composure, yours. Not my understanding of where this grief ends or what it means, yours. Have your way, Lord, have your way. In Jesus' name, amen. If you needed this today, if something in this prayer reached into a place you have been carrying quietly alone, without knowing quite how to name it, I want you to know that you are not alone in that place. You have never been alone in it. He is not finished with you. He is not tired of you. He is here. Save it. Come back to it. Share it with someone who might need it.